Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is the 29th episode of the summary of the Quran. Like we did in the last episode, this one also has 12 surahs whose summarized version is what I'm going to present. We've already started the last 7th group of Quranic surahs, which is comprised of 48 surahs, 46 of which are Meccan and 2 of them are Medinan. All of them are in pairs. The first 2 surahs that are in pair today form a pair are Surah 79 and 80 that we are going to do, Surah An-Nazi'at and Surah Abasa. In Surah An-Nazi'at and Surah Abasa, the Almighty is admonishing the people of Quraysh for the manner they are completely ignoring the message of the Quran and the warning for them to prepare for the next life. The only difference is that while this admonishing has been done in a way where there are historical references and references to the phenomena of the nature in Surah number 79, Surah Naziat, in the next Surah, 80th Surah, there is a reference to a particular incident that has been utilized, made use of to warn the people of Quraysh directly. So we pick the 34th verse onwards of Surah number 79, Surah An-Nazi'at. The Almighty is saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الطَّامَّةُ الْكُبْرَى. But when there will come the great overwhelming calamity, يَوْمَ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ مَا سَعَى. That day, humans are going to realize what they did. They will remember the efforts that they undertook in the worldly life. وَبُرِّزَتِ الْجَحِيمُ لِمَنْ يَرَى. And while they'll be doing it and lamenting the fact that they wasted their life and did not prepare well for the next life, there will be this hellfire that will be exposed to them before them. They'll be watching it. Liman yara, it will be available for them to see. فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى. So the one who crossed limits, transgressed in this life, limits of morality, وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا, and he preferred this worldly life over the next life. And that's why he did it. That's why he had no scruples. فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. So the hellfire will be his abode. He will not be able to stay away from and to in any way evade the possibility of being thrown into the hell. On the other hand, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. The one who was scared of, fearful of, standing before his Lord for accountability. وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى. And he checked, prevented his desire from going beyond control, beyond limits. فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. Then such people are most certainly going to have the paradise as their abode. The next surah, Surah number 80, is Abasa. This surah is talking about an incident that took place in the early part of the prophetic mission, wherein a companion of the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, who was blind, came to seek his guidance at a time when the Prophet was engaged in preaching to the leaders of Quraysh, and he was extremely keen that they understand the message believe in it and become Muslims. And this will be the good, this will be for the good of not just the message, but for the people who had already believed, so that their life would become easier. But obviously this blind companion of the Prophet did not know what was happening. So he came and demanded from the Prophet that he should turn his attention to him and let him know what he's asking for. So the Almighty says, Abasa wa tawalla. He, the Prophet, frowned and turned away. Anja'ahul ama, because there came to him a blind man. Fama yudrika la'allahu yazzakka. And O Prophet, you would not know. How would you know? How could you figure out? La'allahu yazzakka, that he may have purified himself. Aw yazzakkaru, or he might have listened to your message carefully, be reminded fatanfa'u zikra, and the reminder might have helped him, might have benefited him. Amma man istaghna. As for these people who are not paying heed, who are not interested, فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى, you were giving them a lot of attention. You were focused on them. وَمَا عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا يَزَّكَّى, even though it was not your responsibility if they did not get purified. وَأَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسْعَى, on the other hand, the one who came to you with interest, striving to understand, وَهُوَ يَخْشَى, and he feared God as well. فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ تَلَاهَا, you were distracted, you ignored him. Kalla, no, that was not the right thing to do. So even though it seems as if the Almighty was talking in this surah, in these verses, to the Prophet, directly asking him, telling him that what he did was wrong, the fact of the matter is that the Prophet didn't do anything deliberately wrong. He was doing it with all the good intentions to convince a few people. And there was this blind companion who came to him without realizing the situation, the seriousness of the situation. These verses are in actual fact admonishing the people, the leaders of Quraysh who were present there and were not paying attention. So even though you see as if apparently the verses are directed towards the Prophet, they're actually sending a message to the people who were present, but the Almighty is so displeased with these people that he doesn't even want to talk to him directly. Then we move on to the next pair of the surahs, 81 and 82. Both these surahs are talking about the judgment day and the details of it, and appealing to the addressee to believe. The only difference is that whereas in surah number 81, Takveer, the Almighty is referring to the truthfulness of the message of the Quran, the process that was undertaken to deliver the message was so foolproof that its truthfulness could not have been questioned. In the next surah, Surah Al-Infitar, the 82nd surah, the Almighty is referring to the fact that humans have been created in a way that they are very balanced even in their appearance. And this amazing creation of the Almighty in itself should have been good enough for all sane, wise people to acknowledge the Almighty's blessings and to believe that this life is not enough, there has to be another life. So let's take one passage each from both surahs. I first take Surah Takveer, which is the 81st surah, and in the last few verses of it, what we find is, starting from verse 27, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In huwa illa zikrul lil alameen. This Quran is nothing but a reminder for all humanity, all peoples of the world. Liman sha'a minkum an yastaqim. It's a guidance for whoever amongst you wants to take the right path. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ. But you will not be able to desire, you will not be able to wish for following the right path, illa an yasha Allah, except that God desires it for you. Rabbul Alameen, who is the Lord of the worlds. That is, God chooses to enable people to have inclination to be guided. And only those people who have this inclination, eagerness to be guided, who are actually guided. But while God takes this decision on His own, His decision is based on His wisdom, on His mercy, on His sense of justice. He only picks those people who are good, morally upright, who have cared to lead this life in a way that they are staying away from what we all know, all humans know is evil and bad, and they are eagerly looking forward to doing what is good. So good humans are picked by the Almighty, and they take interest in God's message, and it's only those people who are interested in His message are the ones who get the opportunity of believing in it. Then we move to the next surah, which is Surah Al-Fajr, surah number 82, whose first 5 verses, in the case of Takveer, it's the first 13, 14 verses which are talking about the events that are going to take place before the process of accountability would begin. Surah Al-Fajr begins by saying, Iza samaun fatarat, when the sky is going to break apart, wa izal kawakibun tatharat, and the stars are going to fall, they will scatter, wa izal biharu fujjirat, and when the seas are going to erupt, wa izal quburu bu'thirat, and when those inside the graves are going to come out and will be all scattered around. Alimat nafsum ma qaddamat wa akharat. It's on that day that people would come to learn about what they sent forth for their future and what they left behind in this worldly life. They would know the opportunities of doing good and therefore to be successful in the next life that they wasted. And they would know the deeds that they sent forth for them to be made accountable on the basis of which. So when all this worldly grandeur, its glamour is going to be over, and the Almighty is going to cause this world to be destroyed and the new world to be created, that man would realize that what he did was not exactly was good for him. He would know what he left behind, he would know what he sent forth. We move on to then the next pair of the surahs, which is surahs 83 and 84. Like indeed in the case of most other Quranic surahs, these two surahs also form a pair. In this pair, the concept of good and evil is mentioned, and the inevitable outcome of this understanding of good and evil in the form of accountability is also emphasized. People of Quraysh are being warned, and they are being informed that this life is going to come to a close and very soon to give way to the next one, where you will have to be held accountable. You will have to face the accountability for what you did in this life. So let's take first the 83rd surah, first few verses. It says, Wailul lil muttaffifin. Woe to those who are giving less while trading. In other words, who are committing corruption, who are deceiving while they are selling their commodities. Allazina izaktalu ala nasi yastawfun. The ones who, when they take a measure from people, they demand to take it in full. However, وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ, when they sell it to others by measuring or by weighing, يُخْسِرُونَ, they give less, they measure less, they weigh less. That is, when they buy it from others, buy commodities from others, they demand that what they are paying, they should get exactly the same value for it. But when they are selling as traders, they are giving less than what the other person deserves. The Almighty says, Ala yazunnu ulaika annahum mab'uthun. Do they not think, realize that they are going to be resurrected, brought back to life for accountability? Is it that they think that what they are doing is not being watched, not being observed, and that they are not going to be punished for what they are doing? The Almighty has arranged this life to be a trial, and therefore He has given us freedom to choose to do whatever we want to. But people should not take it as if there's no check on them, there's nobody looking at them. That's what the Almighty is mentioning in this surah. In the next surah, we take verses 6 onwards in Surah Inshiqaq. God says, Ya ayyuhal insan, O man, O humans, innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan. You are laboring, struggling towards your Lord. Famulaqi, so most certainly you're going to meet Him. That is, no matter what you do, whatever work you do, whatever struggle you undertake, you believe in it or not, all humans are on a journey that is ultimately going to culminate in their meeting with their God, their Creator. So that's inevitable. You just can't avoid it. And therefore, be prepared for it. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. There are going to be two categories of people. Those who will be given their register, the book of their performance, in their right hand. فَسَوْفَ يُحَاسَبُ حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. He will be judged in a way that's going to be a simple, easy process of accountability. No tough questions are going to be asked, because the person was well-meaning, morally upright. He did a few things wrong here and there, but the Almighty is not going to ask about them. By and large, predominantly, the person was good, accepted the truth whenever it came his way, and followed the truth whenever he had the opportunity. So the Almighty says that such people are going to have their process of accountability undertaken, and they're going to go through it easily. وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. And he's going to return to his people, his friends, family members, who likewise are going to be successful. He'll go to them happily. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ وَرَاءَ ظَهْرِهِ. But the one who will be given his book of accounts from behind his back, فَسَوْفَ يَدْعُو ثُبُورًا. He will cry out for destruction. He will ask for death. وَيَصْلَى سَعِيرًا. And will enter to burn in a blaze. إِنَّهُ كَانَ فِي أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. He was the one who in his lifetime was not interested in the right conduct, was not interested in making his process of accountability easy, successful. So he indulged in whatever he wanted to do and used to return to his family arrogantly and happily. إِنَّهُ ظَنَّ أَن لَّن يَحُورَ. He thought that he would never return to God. Bala, why not? Inna rabbahu kana bihi basira. Your Lord was ever watchful. He was looking at what he was doing all this while. So that's Surah number 84. Now we move on to the next pair, which is of Surahs 85 and 86, Surah Al-Buruj and At-Tariq. In both surahs, what we find is that the Almighty's creativity in this life have been mentioned to enable the individual to look at them, look at the different signs of his creativity, and to marvel at them, and to also see the design that the Almighty has in mind of making another life, because this life, despite the brilliance of it, is incomplete. It has flaws. On its own, it doesn't make sense. So we look at the Surah number 85, which is Surah Al-Buruj, a few verses of it, verses 12 onwards. God says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna batsha rabbika lashadid. God's vengeance is going to be very tough, severe. Innahu huwa yubdi'u wa yu'id. And this is going to happen. Why? He is the one who originated creation, and he's going to do it again. That is, it's not going to be a problem for him to recreate you. He did it for the first time, he's going to do it again. وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. But he's not tyrant, he's not cruel. He is forgiving and loving, caring, affectionate. So, incline yourself towards him and his path. Seek his forgiveness. He is waiting for you to come to him and to ask for his affection. Zul Arshil Majid is the honorable owner of the throne. The throne of this entire existence, which is the center of all administration that is happening, taking place of this world. He is the one who owns it. Fa'alul lima yurid. He can do whatever he intends to. Whatever is his plan, he has all the power and the ability to implement it. Hal ataka hadithul junud. Don't you know? Have you not heard of the stories of groups, soldiers? Fir'auna wa Thamud, for instance, that of Pharaoh and Thamud. Don't you know what happened? And how these very strong groups, kings, tyrant rulers, they were destroyed? بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي تَكْذِيبٍ. No, these people don't want to understand. Instead, these people who are bent upon disbelieving, they are persistent in their denial. They're not prepared to open up for truth. وَاللَّهُ مِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ مُحِيطٌ. But they don't know that God is encompassing them from all across. He is already in control of them. It's only that his hand is not visible to them at the moment. Bal huwa Quranun Majid. Their allegation that this book is not from God, but has been concocted, that's not true. Instead, it's an honored Quran, honorable book, fi lawhim mahfuz, and it is inscribed in a preserved record with God. It has come from him, and it's a book which is honored, noble book. Then we go on to the next pair, which is the pair of the 87th and 88th surahs, Surah Al-Ala and Surah Al-Ghashiyah. Both are emphasizing to the Prophet for him to remind these people who are ignoring the truth, but the Almighty is encouraging the Prophet that he must continue to remind them, because you never know. Some people take time for them to realize, And there's nothing else which the Prophet has been required to do except to keep reminding people. Suratul Ala is the 87th surah. We pick a few verses of this surah, verses 14 onwards. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The Almighty says, Qad aflaha man tazakka. The one who has purified himself morally and spiritually has succeeded. And by success, the Quran is absolutely clear. It only means one thing, that he is going to be in the paradise. So the one who has purified himself, cleansed himself by getting rid of evil tendencies within himself, and by going for moral and spiritual excellence, he is the one who has succeeded. And how would he do it? وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. He remembered the name of his Lord. And how? فَصَلَّى. He prayed. So when you pray, you actually remember God. And when you remember God, you purify yourself. You get rid of the evil contaminations that threaten you, that influence you. And when you get cleansed and purified and you excel morally and spiritually, come close to God, you become eligible for the paradise. Bal tu'siruna al-hayat ad-dunya. No, they don't want to know the truth. Instead, you don't want to know the truth. The Almighty is talking to the people of Quraysh, the disbelievers. Instead, you prefer the worldly life over the next life. وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. And be sure that the life hereafter, the next life, is far better, far more beautiful, enjoyable, and is going to last forever. Inna haza lafi as-suhuf al-ula. This is not a new message. It's a message which has come from God right from day one. It's a message which is there in the formal books, scriptures as well. Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa, for instance, in the scriptures of Abraham and Moses. The next surah, which is the partner surah of Surah Al-Ala, is Surah Al-Ghashiyah, the 88th surah, wherein from verse 17 onwards, the Almighty is talking about the people of Quraysh and those who were not believing with a surprise. I mean, why is it happening? Afala yanzurun. Don't they see ilal ibli, the camels, kaifa khuliqat, how they have been created, how amazing this animal, this what is called the ship of the desert has been fashioned for them. It can travel for days without water. It enables people in the Arabian desert, all other deserts, to have so many different needs met through this animal. Have you not seen it, how amazingly it has been designed for you? وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ. And have they not looked at the sky, the way it has been raised, erected above them? They see the blazing sun during daytime, the shining stars at night, and it's there above them. Have they not ever thought about it, looked at the reason why it has been done? وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. And have they not seen the earth, how it has been spread out? فَذَكِّرْ. O Prophet, you just remind them. إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ. You have no other responsibility except that you are a reminder. لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرْ. You are not there to control them, to force them to believe or to do what is good and desirable. إِلَّا مَنْ تَوَلَّى وَكَفَرْ. As for the one who has rejected rejected the message, rejected the faith, and has turned away. فَيُعَذِّبُهُ اللَّهُ الْعَذَابَ الْأَكْبَرَ. So God is most certainly going to inflict with him a big punishment. Inna ilayna yabahum. Most certainly their return is going to be towards us. They'll come back to us. Thumma inna alayna hisabahum. And most certainly upon us is the responsibility of holding them accountable. We will do their accountability. You don't have to worry about it. That's for us to do. Your job is just to remind them, and this reminder is going to be effective and useful for only those people who will care to be reminded. The last pair that we'll do for this episode is the pair of Surahs 89 and 90, Surah Al-Fajr and Al-Balad respectively. The Quraysh are being warned, but they're not being addressed directly. And as I mentioned earlier, this style of presenting a message to an individual or a group of people, but not addressing the individual or the group directly, is actually meant to give this clear indication that things are going seriously wrong, and these people are not even worthy of being addressed directly. So we first take Surah Al-Fajr, which is the 89th Surah of the Quran, and I'm picking verse 15 onwards. The Almighty says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Fa'ammal insan. So the matter of man, humans, is strange. Iza mattalahu rabbuhu. When his Lord puts him into a trial, a test, fa'akramahu wa na'ama, and he's generous to him and he favors him, that is, he gives him worldly success, material success. فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمًا. Then he says, my Lord has honored me. Not realizing that it's a test. Just says that this is my honor and I'm successful. وَأَمَّا, and then when إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ, he, that is his Lord God, tests him, فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقًا, and restricts provisions for him. فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانًا. He complains and says, my Lord has humiliated me. So he doesn't realize that this life is a test. Kalla. No, not at all. Neither being rich and affluent is a sign of success, nor being poor and in difficulty is a sign of failure. They are both manifestations of the Almighty's test that He is requiring people to go through. Kalla, no, that's not true. That's not what the case is. Bal, instead, la tukrimun al-yatim. You do not honor the orphan. You don't realize that this is a test, and therefore the orphans, they are a test for you. They are there for you to take care of them and to respect them. But these people of Quraysh and Mecca, they are not honoring the orphans. وَلَا تَحَاضُّونَ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. And you are not encouraging one another to feed the poor. That is, it's not just that one needs to give a few pennies to the poor people that is desired. What is important is that there should be a concern for those who are deprived, and there should be a campaign launched to make sure that those who are deprived, needy, they get what they need. وَتَأْكُلُونَ التُّرَاثَ أَكْلًا لَمًّا. And instead you consume inheritance, wealth, devouring it altogether. You are madly after wealth, and you have no concern for morality. You've got no interest in the plight of the needy, the deprived. وَتُحِبُّ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. And you love wealth with immense love. You love it deeply. Kalla, no, not at all. That is, your view, your dream, expectation that this worldly affluence and success for you is going to last forever. No, that's not the case. Iza dukkatil ardu dakkan dakka. Just imagine when this earth is going to be leveled, pounded, crushed. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. And your Lord will come with angels, rank upon rank. وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمَ. And on that day, the hell is going to be brought forth. يَوْمَئِذٍ, on that day, يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ. Man is going to recall, he'll remember that he had opportunity of performing well in the worldly life, but he wasted it. He will recall and realize it. وَأَنَّى لَهُ الذِّكْرَى. But it would be of no avail. What good would it be for him to now remember the life that he had wasted? يَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي قَدَّمْتُ لِحَيَاتِي. He would say that, oh, I wish I had sent ahead some good for my life. فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُعَذِّبُ عَذَابَهُ أَحَدٌ. So on that day, none will punish as severely as God's punishment, His punishment. وَلَا يُوثِقُ وَثَاقَهُ أَحَدٌ. And none will bind as severely as His binding of the evildoers. On that day, the people who remained content and satisfied, no matter what the circumstances, in good times and in difficult times, the Almighty would say to them, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainna. Oh, those who remain content all the time, under all circumstances, irji'i ila rabbiki. Return to your Lord, radiyatam mardiya, well pleased with Him and He pleased with you. Fadkhuli fi ibadi. So you enter the group of my servants who are successful. Fadkhuli jannati, and enter my paradise. The next surah, Surah Al-Balad, is the partner surah of Surah Al-Fajr, and in verse 11 onwards, the Almighty is saying, فَلَقْتَحَمَ الْعَقَبَةِ. So the opportunity that we gave to these people, they didn't avail it positively. فَلَقْتَحَمَ الْعَقَبَةِ. But he has not broken through the difficult paths. That is, God Almighty wants people to overcome this resistance within themselves that is there in doing good deeds, in helping out others. So God is lamenting the fact that these people, they did not go through the difficult paths. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةِ. And what can you make? What do you know what this breaking through of the difficult path is? Fakku raqaba. It is freeing of slaves. أَوْ إِطْعَامٌ فِي يَوْمٍ ذِي مَسْغَبَةٍ. Or feeding on a day of severe hunger. Yatiman za maqraba. Feeding orphans of near relationship. أَوْ miskinan za matraba. Or a needy person in misery. ثُمَّ كَانَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Then such a person became amongst those people. He joined the group of those people who believed. That is, when somebody does good deeds of that category, of that nature, it's only then that he becomes eligible in the eyes of God to believe, and He picks him to take interest in His message. ثُمَّ كَانَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And then he became amongst those who believed. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْمَرْحَمَةِ. And they advised one another to be patient and advised one another to be compassionate with each other. أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ. They are the ones who are going to be the companions of those who will be on the right hand and will be successful. That is, this path has to be followed, the path of righteousness, of piety, of goodness, of helping others. And then the Almighty would privilege people to be given the reward of faith and the right path. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِنَا. As for those people who rejected our signs, our verses, hum ashabul mashama, they are going to be the people belonging to the category of those who will be on the left side, the unsuccessful people. Alayhim narum mu'sada, on them is going to be fire closed in. They'll not be able to run away from it. May the Almighty enable us to understand the real purpose of this life, and may He enable us to be motivated to do whatever is possible for us to be able to be successful in the next life.